Hello, good evening and welcome. And we'll wait and see if anybody tunes in tonight. It could be a really short live or it could be a really long detailed one, depending on how many people show up. So the reason for being on, guys, is for me to express my gratitude for everything that that has been done over this last couple of weeks from various different sources about how I've managed to get to 200 subscribers. So telling the story just a little bit there. So we're not showing anybody is on yet. So how this started out, about 2 weeks ago, I was on 156 subscribers and I got really flattened and I was a little bit fed up and a little bit lackluster. So what I decided to do was to either go down one or two pathways. Either I needed to pack this in and think of something completely different, or I needed to look at something slightly different in the way that I took this on. So me being a stubborn bugger that I am, decided that I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to give up. I was going to push on, seek, pastures new, seek advice and guidance on how to do this. So I was lucky enough to be given a course from somebody that they said, right, follow this guidance. And I had a look through it. And for those of you that know me, I'm not really tech savvy. So when I'm having a look at this course, I'm thinking all of this is going to go over my head. 51 years of age, was people going to have the patience with me while I learn how to deal with all this stuff? And I weren't really sure. But I persevered with the course. I went through it. I got myself to a point where I understand enough of it to take out of it what I need. I like taking notes and working my way through things methodically. And then I look at getting the results. But you see, the thing is with me, I whittle and worry about over stupid stuff. Right. And then I read this book, and I don't know if I mentioned this before, that all about somebody who knew all about YouTube and they got multiple subscribers and things like that. They said at the beginning, don't worry what you post, just get things on there, get people brought in. So when I initially set up my channel, the speed that the things came in was absolutely brilliant. The subscribers went up really, really quickly. Hi, Gemma. Thanks very much. I hope you've noticed your little message on there. If I've hopefully, if I've got it right, just say thank you for your support and giving me a shout out on your channel. You, Trevor Cult, Fit the Such, Fortune Cookies. I am really, really grateful for all of the support that I've got. And one of my friends who I will mention on here, if she does pop up on here at Embracing Aging, came to me and said about doing certain things. So what I did was I listened to the advice and I went on to did certain processes, and my subscribers started to rise. And I was like, oh, this is great, because the biggest thing I think in my journey with this is getting over the inertia. I'm one of these that if I get my teeth into something and I get myself moving, I bite, it's like having the bit between your teeth. But if you get knocked and you just sort of slow the momentum down, it's difficult to get going again. So when I started seeing these subscribers starting to go up, I thought, right, we've got it again. So I've become obsessed over these last few days about publishing content and getting my subscribers up. And then we've reached that marker where it was on 186, I think, or something like that. And I'm going, right, I've been told not to focus on numbers. I've been told not to do this, that, and the other. But it's getting close now, because I could get to that magical 200 mark. And then I set myself what I considered a realistic chance of getting to 200. And I set it by the end of the year. And my lovely friend there that's I've mentioned on here already, Annabelle at Fortune Cookies, said, come and do a live with me. So we did a live with her, and wow, the response for me has been amazing. I am just so grateful and so proud that this morning, after concerted effort by other people as well as myself, it now stands at 204. Right. So I know that you guys out there that are on big subscribers, and you've got big amounts of people watching you and following your content. I thought, right, everybody has got to start somewhere. Everybody has got to earn the spurs, if you like, earn the stripes. So the course that I was doing talked about 1% increases and 1% progression. I thought, right, so if you look at 156 a fortnight ago to 204 there, that's got to be more than 1%. So I'm highly delighted. And the thing is, I'm just going to keep saying to everybody, thanks very much, because I've said this many, many times on my lives before. I'm always the kind of guy that I find insults easier to deal with than I find compliments. And I've had a lot of people that's come and stood in my corner and just gone, right, go for it. You know, and they followed me through thick and thin. And I'm really, really proud. I did Facebook the other day, and Facebook, 2,100 followers. My little page there, which is my support page at the Urban Angel there, has just gone over 500 followers. And I sit there, you know, and sometimes I get quite bemused by it all. But then I think, well, that's what you set out to achieve. You wanted people to follow you. You wanted to have an audience. And so you have to, as part of that, you have to put your mindset in that there'll be a great amount of confidence and compliments put into you. But there'll also be those that don't like you. But that's real life, isn't it? So I was reading in this book, it says, right here and now in the first couple of pages, if you think that you're going to go on this YouTube journey without somebody having a go at you or being upset, you might as well stop now. And I thought, right, realistically, that's snapped me into gear, because truthfully, I've always been a little bit sensitive and a little bit, I don't like criticism as such. But I've never really let it get me down for very long. And yet, as soon as I come onto this way, you're in the public eye sort of thing, when you're on these profiles, I got knocked down by every little thing. But when you get stuck into that mindset, is that going to be your legacy? Is that going to be something that's said? So you look at like 200 people here, that if you get a couple of people on that don't like what you're doing, who am I going to stop this journey for? And the answer's got to be no one. You know, so you have to toughen up and have that tougher skin. So when this has come up there with this 200 people on here, what, you know, to some people it might not be a lot, but for me to get off my backside, make an effort, put out the call to help, have it responded to, and then have it supported. One of my other big things was, right, I'm one of these that when people help me out and they're loyal to me, I want to repay that in kind, you know, so I follow their pages, share out their work and things like that. And that's just been a gimme for me. That's what I've done all of the time. And I'm honestly just blown away by all of this, that it's got moving again. So what are my aims and aspirations going forward? Well, eventually, and I don't see why not, to get monetized on here. And then that way I can work out more strategies for helping people, because essentially that is what I'm about, a therapeutic medium, which is helping people deal with any things that are blocking their path. So I'm an energy worker as well as the therapeutic medium, because I'm trained in quite a few different aspects of things. So I'm just, like I say, just delighted with the opportunity. So before I come on here, right, this is what I'm being all honest. I'm all over the place energetically, because I say I've just got so excited. I'm like the puppy that's going to pee on your shoes if I'm not taken outside, honestly. So I've looked at setting this up today. I've done the right thing on YouTube. I've set it up. It's gone through my StreamYard. Anyway, cooked us a meal. Come upstairs and I can't get my lighting rig right. I couldn't get my settings right. And then I thought there comes a point where you can mess about with things for too long. If you're building up that that following and you explain yourself, people will accept you as you are. And if they don't, then they're not your people. They're not your tribe. I've been thinking about this a lot while I was out walking the dogs. That there's people there that have sort of sent messages and gone, you know, I can't understand why you're doing all of this sort of thing, and not sort of backing me up. And I just go, well, maybe he was my tribe, and maybe now that you're not. So it's that letting go. And I've got the death card sat in my head. Now, the death card for tarot readers and for clients of tarot readers brings up this sort of like, oh, sometimes it's like, oh, death card, it's a bit of a tricky subject. Right, well, death never means literal death. And when I get the death card, I actually get quite excited, because for me, it means the end of a process, the ending of. And then if you accept endings, then you will be finding yourself a place where you can make those new starts. So the potential and the power of transformation is like multiplied. So a lot of the stuff that I feel around people that are talking to me at the moment is sort of dealing with endings, processing like leftover energy, stale energy, for want of better words, and then building and renewing and sort of starting processes again. And somebody messaged me about one of the little card readings I did, said it was so spot on. And I said, thank you, because sometimes we get bogged down in our own over analysis. And even though I'm an overthinker, I don't want that to be my legacy. So I tune in and I watch Gemmas. I tune in, I watch Trevor Cults. I tune in and I watch Hutches and Lovely Fortune Cookies, amongst many, many others. And I take little tips. I'm an observer. I like to watch what's going on in the background so that I can format it, because what I'm looking to do is to help people through. And I've always been a bit unorthodox. So it's like what other people will see in straight lines, I see in corners and curves and colours and things like that. And I just absolutely am thrilled to bits that I've found this format where I can go on and talk, and it doesn't cost me over a minute. So it's great. Right, I'm just have a look through a few of these comments there and just see, because I've got 4 of you on now. So thank you. Thank you, Gemma, for sharing me. I appreciate that. I love that. I love that title. I hope you've stopped around. Wife of a grumpy old Marine. I love that. So very briefly, I can't sit here and say I'm an ex-serviceman with any real authority on it. But my dream when I was a kid was to join the army, because my dad was in the army and my granddad was in the army. So that's kind of all that I ever heard about. Now, when I got into the stages of going into the junior army, as it is over here, because you can go from 16 to 18 as a junior, I've got this big dream, this plan in mind of being a tank driver, and I could go around shooting and blowing up things. So, but the thing that's always been about me as well is I'm not very good with authority. I don't like being shouted at. So who could see where the ending was going to come with that? I managed to last 6 weeks being shouted at and pushed around and things like that. And though I realise that that's a process to sort of toughen you up and get you ready for the realistic battles that people go through out on battlefields and in sort of war-torn areas, that wasn't me. So I came away after my 6 weeks service, and that was it. Or so I thought. I turned, just before I turned 18, I went back and I enrolled and did all my tests and things there. And I was sat in the army recruiting office in Lincoln with a pot of urine in my hand, which I will explain, because that you have to have your urine tested to see if you're drug free and that type of thing, which I was okay with. I don't have any problem with that. And then I'm sat there in this room thinking, right, so I'm about 18 months further down the line than what I was. Have I changed any? And the answer had to be, unfortunately, no, I hadn't. I'd got no more discipline about me, and I certainly didn't like being shouted at. So I came out of that recruiting office, tail between my legs, and looked to start again, which is quite ironic that a few years later I then end up in the prison service, which is supposedly a disciplined uniform service. And that didn't fare so well either. But I managed to do 12 years, so I must have had something about me. Right, let's keep going. So I prefer honest and real. Right, I'll just highlight that, actually. I'll just highlight that, and I'll say thank you for that as well. And again, you don't know me, so thank you very much for coming over here and following me. I'm still establishing what it is that I actually do. I mean, if you follow my stuff on Facebook, it is just straight reading. I just turn over cards. And I thought the idea of coming on tonight, I'll only keep saying to people, I'll only be on as long as I've got an audience to talk to. that I will turn cards over for anybody that wants them, because I'm quite happy to do that. I like the idea of therapeutic counselling and helping people out with energy blocks and problems and things like that. And I just come on here because even if I don't do anything productive, what I'm doing is sharing my energy. And there are people out there that might see this as a bit of entertainment for a few minutes, even if they just sit and laugh at me because I'm a bit of a prat. But I'm quite happy to do that. But I want to acknowledge and continually acknowledge just how grateful I am for getting over that 200 marker, because I was on the point of just going, do you know what? I can't do this. Yeah, it's one of those that I'm a tough character, but you can only take so many knocks before you realise, right, I've got to reassess. And it was just like spirit tend to do with me, that you get to that bottom part of your arc, if you like. You're on that bottom stretch and you're just thinking, right, I don't know where I'm going with this. I need help, or I need some sort of sign, some sort of synchronicity. And then, say, out of the blue comes that call from Embracing Aging, the lovely Christina there, who gave me access to this course. I did the course, did the thing with Annabelle, and it starts to bring in awareness around you. Now, I don't truthfully know how this is all going to pan out, but I'll tell you something, I am going to get behind it 100%. I'm going to push, and hopefully that be at the stage where these guys that I look up to at the moment, I've had to be a bit realistic with myself as well, because I've realised that to get to 2,000, nearly 2,100 on Facebook has took me nearly 6 years. So I don't know where in my mind that I thought coming onto a new venue, if you like, was going to be that easier. I really didn't. But I read in this book that I'm reading at the moment about how to market yourself on YouTube, that trying to combine the two, and if you've got a big following on one platform, trying to get them to migrate across to the second format is quite difficult. So that's answered a question for me, because I'm one of these. I don't want to be like disloyal to anybody. I want to, everybody that's given me a like and a follow and has helped me progress this far, I want to keep acknowledging them. I don't want to be dismissive at all. But when you combine the two, it doesn't seem to work. So I've got to change my plans a little bit. So, but I'm going to do my best to sort of split myself and give time to YouTube, which is truthfully where I think my future is. And also keep on being loyal to the Facebook followers, because on that I do get work off it. So it's a strange one. So I prefer honest and real people with a sense of humour. Well, if you look at the rest of my Facebook, Facebook, I've got that in my brain now. If you look at my YouTube channel, the Tales from Inside My Numb Skull, my sense of humour has been my saviour. You know, I've had mental health difficulties over the years with anxiety and depression and one thing and another, and the thing that's always got me through is my ability to imagine scenarios, tell jokes, tell gags, do impressions, and just distract my own self-destructive mind. So I've got tons of tales, and do you know what, the idea isn't to sort of say to anybody that I'm better than you, or I can do this better, or advise, or anything like that. It is just to recite the fact that there are people out there that do things in a weird way. And I've spoken about this last week about embracing my weirdness, and I am just thrilled to do it now. Anyway, I started looking last night as I was out and about walking with my dogs, because we went out late last night, thinking about, because I'd had a couple of messages that said about, have I considered teaching? Well, I've been asked that a lot over the last 18 months, and my reply has always been the same. Truthfully, I don't know what I would teach. I really do not know what I'd teach, and I'm not looking for ideas or suggestions. I just truthfully don't know what I would bring to the table in regards to that. But what I realised I am is a guide. Now, I don't want to be in a position where I work in spiritual counselling with people and do readings and guidance and things like that by telling them what to do. I want to be a support while they process what they feel they need to do. If they ask me the question, then I'm quite happy to give suggestions, because what my hobby is and what my love is to listen to people's vocabulary and see if you can spot any repetitive phrases that are blocks, anything that's in there that's being said that is restricting them, or anything of that nature, and then presenting it back at them, but having it structured. So when people sort of say to you, well, there's something going on, and this is the pattern that I always tend to do, knowing my look, we've got a block. So we need to remove that knowing my look, or looking on that sort of dark side, and just going, right, if that wasn't a factor, what would your next move be? So my next move would always be, right, I need to turn you around and get you facing forward. Now, you might be walking into the darkness or into the vortex moment while you structure yourself and get yourself in a place where you are ready and prepared to go on that next journey. But it's wobbly. I can testify to this, because when I stepped out of full-time work, and I'm doing this work full-time now, and over the last month, all of a sudden, it's gone really, really quiet. The gremlins do get in there. So you need people that will support and guide you and listen to you. I've had people there that, I'm not betraying anybody's confidences whatsoever, but I've had people out there that have come to me, and you wouldn't believe the conversations that we've had when they get into the mindset of that particular day where they're just feeling overwhelmed, or everything's gone to pot just in that particular time frame. So I do the same thing with everybody. I just listen. And then I point out what their previous history is, what their record is. And the thing is, whenever you say to somebody, right, imagine your worst ever day where everything could go wrong and did go wrong. Once you'd finished that particular section, what happened? Well, I came through it a bit bumped, a bit battered, a bit knocked. Yes, okay, that's acceptable. I understand that. But what happened? Well, you just somehow get through it. Right, there's a starting point, because nobody's ever said to me ever during the readings and the guidance that I've done that their worst ever day is what they're living through now. Nobody, not one. And I've been doing these readings and guidance sessions for over 6 years now, and not one person's ever said that their current set of circumstances are worse than anything that they've ever been through. So it's reminding yourself at times just who you are, how strong you are, what your potential is on your best day. So when you do have a problem, how have you solved problems? How have you got through to the end of that day? If you can inspire people by putting your energy across to them and just saying, right, I'm here. I'm going to stand there and I'm going to support you while you go through this. You are not going to go through this on your own. And that has been my want in life. I am not the star. I am not the front man. My job in the prison services, as I've mentioned many times before, was to support other people that were going in. If there was ever any sort of talking to people or giving people instructions, that was always down to somebody else. I'd be on the outskirts or on the fringes, and I would just be that bit part player that would go in, play my role, but I would always be there to support. I would never see anybody going into a rough situation on their own, no matter how scared I was. So when I've come to my spiritual side, this is what I see now, because people out there that are watching this have got very real issues in their life. And I say to them, yes, I understand that. Right, but what we're going to do with that piece of information? I've had, during this year, I've done many of these communications, and one has been a problem. She came and she watched everything that I'd done on here and decided to have a session with me, and then told me afterwards that she felt bruised, that she didn't feel supported. She felt angry at the way I treated her. And the thing that I always do with people is ask them before a session's finished, right, is there anything you feel I've missed? Is there anything that you feel that I could have handled in a different way? Have you got anything that you want to pass on to me? And all of the answer that came back was no, she was okay. It was only after she went away and thought about it that she come back with a load of criticism. But that's like me having a meal at a restaurant, saying thank you very much, leaving him a tip, then coming home and just saying, oh, by the way, can I have my money back? Because my food was crap. I meant to say it at the time, but you didn't give me a chance. So I always say to people as well, we're talking about honesty, that, this isn't for everyone when I'm working. I have got that need to push people, because I want to give my energy and I want them to be the best version of themselves that they can be. Right, so before I get off down another rabbit hole, let me just have a What's it like it when the death card pops? Yeah. I think people misunderstand it because of the imagery, but I always look at finality with it. I always look at processes ending rather than saying it's a literal thing. And I look forward to it, because if you've got any moments of doubt around you, or you're a bit dizzy over it, you're sort of wavering about that next thing, it's giving you a very concrete answer. It's giving you a full stop, that something has to go, something has to come to an end, so that we can bring in that next amount of energy. And to bring in that next amount of energy may well take us beyond our comfort zone. So when we go beyond our comfort zone, we need all the resources that we can get to challenge this new set of circumstances. So by trying to program something with old programming and old messages and old thought patterns is not going to take us down any new road. So at some point we need I think the best way of putting it is like a defrag. We get rid of that, and then what happens is we bring in that energy, and we bring in that renewal. So for me, it's a great clearing card as well. So thank you. He is grumpy. No wrong with that. I am in my home, I am very grumpy, to be fair. It's only when I come on to do my spiritual stuff that I tend to light up. But I always had this vision when I was younger that what I will be when I sort of get to 60 years of age will be a pile of dust in the corner that people will walk past and poke with a broom pole, and I'll growl at them. I'm 51 and I'm heading that way already. Oh dear. Right. Have you found your gifts changing lately? I know I'm right. I'll tell you a very quick story on that one. I had a dream one night where I was in an operating theatre and I was being operated on, but I was kind of like floating above myself and watching while they stitched in, and what it looked like was one of these parchments, one of the old style things that was written on in times gone by, and it was being stitched into my inside. Anyway, I was then stitched back up again, and I floated down back into my body, and I'm trying to pull myself off this operating table, and I'm shouting at these people to explain what's going on, and I really didn't understand. I couldn't get me moving, so I floated out there in my soul energy and tried to speak to these people who were wearing all of these. It looked like a nuclear suit with a respirator and all this sort of stuff on. Anyway, they went away and just sort of vaporized. Anyway, when I woke up, when I actually came to in this room, like, oh. Anyway, I just put it down to having another one of them weird dreams. So I went to an event that day and I spoke to one of my friends, and she went, she got so excited. She was so thrilled. And I'm going, can you let me in on the secret? Because I didn't have a clue what was going on. She said, that is where they're bringing in your new skills. That is putting in things in there that you've always had in times gone by, but during this run, you couldn't cope with what was going on. So this is gradually bringing back some layers to you. And then what you tend to find is you'll get new guides, you'll get new thoughts, new inspirations, and then certain different types of clientele will come towards you, or certain different experiences. I know that at the moment I'm probably going through another dark night of the soul moment, because, as I said last week, my shows and everything's finished, and I'm kind of like in that stasis mode where I've got tons of enthusiasm but no work coming in, and wondering what next year is going to bring in. So I'm planning for the shows and the events and the appearances that I do every year. But when you look at that, and being a full-time businessman in inverted commas, because I've still not got a business head on my shoulders while my backside points downwards, but I'm looking at how I bring in wages, because I love this, but truthfully, it's got to pay. You've got to explore all avenues. So when I spoke last week, and Gemma said to me about not always giving people what they want, but sticking to what you said, that was my sort of avenue that I was walking down, that I still want to be my own unique character and bring to the table what I do, but also need to earn money. So it's kind of like, it's a bit of a balancing act. But in regards to how I'm working, yeah, I mean, I always set out with this. The whole thing about this channel was about helping people. Paul Hutch and the lovely Mel there, they concentrate on mental health and the physical side of things. I wanted to work on the spiritual and the kind of psychological aspects of things, but not based on any teachings for anything, just based on my experiences, because all of this spiritual stuff has come as a big shock to me. You know, I think in blocks, and I can strategize and I can plan as I move forward. But this spiritual work is nothing like that. So it's, again, it's finding that balancing act in that middle ground. I love Annabelle. Do you know, I was so fortunate. This was another thing why I'm thanking everybody on there, that straight away when we connected, we just got this good vibe going between us. She's very experienced. She's around the same sort of age as what I am. So she's lived during the times that I've lived and got an understanding. But she's like, if you talk about experience, right, she's so far out of my district, it's beyond belief. So when you turn around and you've got somebody out there, I think she said she'd been doing this work for 35 years. That for me, if you can't take time to listen to somebody that's got all of that knowledge and just that genuine way about it, then you're wasting your time anyway. So when she sort of reached out to me, I'm like, wow, I'm honoured. You know, I'll do what you want. You know, I'll quite happily step in there and do what I do, because all I'm looking at doing whenever I come on there, I'm not looking at outshining anybody. I'm not looking at about pushing anybody into the background. I'm just looking to be comfortable in my own shoes. I don't work like Annabelle does, but I guess then she doesn't work like I do. But when you put that lot together and your audience draws into the energy, then it's horses for courses. People will go where they're drawn to. There's an old saying that comes in from my NLP teacher there, that people like people who are like themselves. So that's how I tend to look at it. That you know, there'll be somebody out there that wants my skills and my services. Tarot I love, but I use tarot as tools rather than trying to pick out situations, if that makes sense, and going by the feeling of it. I just use them as a tool. I see my tarot cards like my set of keys when I was a prison officer, that if they're put into the right lock, they'll open the right doors, in which case we can go in there and confront anything that's behind that door that is an issue. So yes, I don't have Facebook anymore. Yeah, thanks, I appreciate that. Facebook, strangely, I have been on since, I'm just trying to work that out, that's why I've got my eyes closed there, because it's making my head burn, since 2005, I believe. So what's that? It's 17, 18 years. Oh my God, you just think, oh, have I really been? No, sorry, 2008, that was it. So 15 years I've been on Facebook. Well, and bearing in mind that when I first went on Facebook in 2008, that I'd not long had a computer. So all of the work that I've put into that page there culminated when I went and did a business course. And part of the business course was to set up the Facebook page. The lives came as a result of having that Facebook page, but I took a lot of pushing to actually do that, because as I explained to people, my nerves and anxiety at the time was pretty high. And I can't believe how far I've made it so far. And I'm only like at the small scale of things, but I'm just so proud of my achievements, and I'm so grateful to everybody. I keep saying that, but the thing is, I just on 206. Wow, it's actually gone up 2 since we come up, Jill. So thank you for that. I was speaking last night about it as well, because say it went from 186, and Annabelle got in touch with me and said, right, don't worry about that. She said, we'll have you at 300 by New Year. So I'm excited, and the momentum's there. I say the bigger audience I can draw, the more I can do the card readings and show my skills with card readings. So I just look at having a theme on here. Tonight it's just celebration. Just so happy, so grateful. And then I watched Trevor Cult yesterday, and he just brought everything in. He brought his sense of humour in. He brought the fact that he was grumpy about one or two things, and he just brought in upliftment. And that's what I aim to do. I'm not going to pinch anybody's ideas. I'm not going to be a diluted version of anybody, but I like his structure or lack of structure. I don't know whether he'll say he's got one or not, but I like people, like we said earlier, who just speaks their truth and don't blag anybody, or, you know, it's all about me and my ego. I'm not interested in my ego. I couldn't care less. I've never been a big head. I always consider myself that when I get these readings and I get some of the fantastic compliments that I receive, honestly, they just blow my mind. I'm just absolutely thrilled to bits with it. Do you know, it's a difficult statement, Gemma, that is. It's a strange one, that right. I'm not gonna, it's stopped me a little bit, right? I'm not gonna dismiss it, because this is part of my learning journey, that I have to learn to accept compliments, and have to is a command sentence. I've said that for me. I don't have to, because that's free will of choice, but I have to, for me, learn to take that as a compliment, because that is your perspective, and I really appreciate that. I just wish, from my personal perspective, that I could harness the talents and do something with them and make more progress than what I do. But then my big belief is that if patience is part of my journey, then I've got to learn all aspects of that before I can make that progression that I'm looking at. So I have to learn to be patient as well. So I think talented, for me personally, as personal word, is a long stretch, but I have got many different strings to my bow, and it's like having the jigsaw puzzle that's never completed, because I'm always on to that next thing. But, like, you know, I've said before, plasterer, I've done all sorts of labouring. I've driven explosives for military purposes. I've driven all over this country, and then I've appeared on stage now. You know, I've written a book. You know, the list absolutely goes on. You know, I was reciting a story yesterday that I was a butcher for 10 years. I qualified to work in shops and do butchering and things like that. It's amazing that, like, all of this eclectic mess in my life comes together and I produce something. But the older I get, the less strength I feel that I've got to keep pushing this cart uphill. So all of my own personal development work is on finding some sort of structure in my life. I enjoy your work. Right, I'm gonna highlight that one, because I just like, bless you, thank you. Yeah, normal. Having not experienced it, I don't know what it is. I was speaking to a friend of mine who said to me, "I believe that you're neurodiverse." Well, I'll be quite truthful about that. I'd never heard of that until I actually went and looked at it and researched. But I think it's like with anything, when you go into Google, that you can diagnose yourself with all sorts. But in regards to how I think, I exhaust myself with my analysing and my thinking and stuff like that. What I have to remember is, when I get into that state of, oh my God, you know, there's all of this, that and the other going on, is it really? Or is it a product of my mind and my overactive imagination? So sometimes it's just like, right, the character needs to step in, the disciplinarian. Let's have you back here. Let's have you right back in this room. Right, what is actually going on? What is the strategy? And it's organising yourself. But if you are neurodiverse, you think in different ways and different patterns. And I remember watching a documentary years ago with Stephen Fry on. And Stephen Fry's got bipolar and all of this sort of thing. And they did a program not long after he'd walked off stage off a big production. And he basically ran away to another country because he couldn't cope with what was going on in his mind. They did a survey towards the end of that program and asked people that if you could have a switch in your mind where you could switch that switch off, and it would get rid of all of your, I'm going to say troubles for me, because it has been troubling, you know, the anxiety and the depression and things like that. Would they have that switch put in place? would they switch off their troubles? Would they switch off their anxiety, their depression, their bipolar? And I think it was something like 90% of them said no, they wouldn't. And I sat there watching that program, and this must have been about 15 years ago, going, oh my God, are they mental? Because if I could have switched off what goes on in my head on a daily basis off at that particular point, I would snap their hand off. I truthfully, as I sit here, I would have snapped their hand off. Now, with a few years wisdom behind me and a few years more experience, where I've got into the phase of mind where I start to look at how I'm processing, start to recognize signs that if I'm going down that rabbit hole, and pulling myself back and just going, right, we need to focus on this, this, and this, and getting myself back into the real world. Would I switch off that switch now? Hell no. Right? Because it's a massive part of my creativity. It's an expensive price to pay at times because it's exhausting, but without that, I wouldn't have had the experiences. I wouldn't have had the opportunities that I've had over the years to sort of stand up in front of people and entertain them, make them laugh, bring in messages of closure, connecting with people. And people look at me, and I can blag it as well, because they look at me and think, oh my God, what is that? And people just laugh at me. I did a show once, and this just shows how people sort of look at you and form a judgment. I went to check to see what time I was on platform or stage on this demonstration. And there I am, stood there with one of my brightest waistcoats on and a colourful tie there. One person had been up to me and said, oh, it's nice to see that your ties are coordinating today, which is unusual for you because you normally dress like a Neapolitan ice cream, which I thought was quite funny. And then I looked round and this woman looked me up and down and she said to me, and what time are you on? That was her delivery. And I went, I'm on at 4 o'clock according to that. And she looked round and she went like this with a finger. She went, I didn't expect a voice like that coming out of you. So I looked at her, and I can alter my voice in an instant. So I looked at her and I said, so what voice did you want? I said, because I can be anybody you like. And she looked at me, she just burst out laughing. But do you know what I mean? It breaks that barrier. But people have that presumption about you that when they look at you, what's going to come out of your mouth? Well, the truth is, for anybody watching, I have no idea. And when I get up there with Spirit let me have free reign, because Spirit are non-judgmental and non-coercive, and they let me do what I do. And the only time that I will worry about my spiritual performance, truthfully, is if Spirit ever stop me and they step into the background, and which I'm quite sure that there'd be warnings about that sort of thing anyway. So I prefer, yeah, right. I will say that now, even though I've got a lot less people on than I do have on YouTube, what I prefer about this, at this level that I'm at the moment with the 200 plus subscribers, is I am not inundated with spammers, with people there trying to get you to spend money with them and go off on these spurious links and things like that. I shouldn't get upset by it, but I do. I get frustrated and I get distracted because, as I said earlier, I've got the patience of nobody, and I struggle with that frustration there that they're not on for the right reasons. Because even if you took them at face value and said, I'll follow that link because, you know, they promised to connect with me with me long dear departed, they're not on for the right reasons anyway. And if they was as good as they say they were, then they'll be doing their own stuff. Because make no mistake, this is hard work, right? But when I consider what this is like hard work psychologically, I've been out and done a day's graph, so this isn't hard work. I just enjoy it, so thank you. Yeah, we'll all send Dizzy. Yeah, we'll all send some healing out to Gemma because she's an absolutely wonderful lady. She really is. Yeah, bless her. She's been in the hospital. I was looking at the video this morning about that, and I hope you get better. So we'll keep going, and I'll keep catching up with these. I was in hospital. Right, we'll send you some healing out as well. Oh no, that was Gemma. Sorry, I've got mucky glasses. I was just having a fuss with my dog before he came up. And he has this habit of sniffing around your glasses, and I've not had glasses up until the last couple of years. And these last couple of years, I've had to get used to what everybody who has glasses gets used to, that your eyesight's probably deteriorated a little bit, and you've got to be careful that you don't sit down on them or tread on them or lose them and things like that. But I've never accounted for the dog coming up making me go blind by licking across the frames. And I've just nipped in here and spent ages trying to fiddle about with the background, which wouldn't quite go right. And I couldn't get my lighting stanchions back. So I'm afraid cleaning my glasses went by the wayside. So I apologise to them for that. Keep going with these comments. Right. It is a delicate balance indeed. Right. And keep going through these comments. Right. What do you like to recommend to raise the vibrations in somebody's home? Do you know what? Just being sheer bloody minded of saying, right, I go into it. I mean, my wife is very sensitive to energy. So her first thing will always be, she will sense what's going on around the room. She'll sage, right? So they have the quite a strange smell. It always reminds me of sage and onion stuffing, that smell when you're cooking a Sunday dinner. But it goes around the room, but that clears out pockets of energy. But raising the vibration, I think you need to raise your intent and your own energy level. So is there something there that's in your house? So say somebody's had an argument or a disagreement. Is that energy still lingering? If you've got somebody there that they've had the argument and it's sort of physically stopped, but the energy residue of it is still hanging around the house. So to raise the vibration, we need that, like we mentioned earlier on, we need that death card moment to come in there and just go, right, sometimes we might not agree about things. Sometimes we might not even understand. Sometimes it might be that we can't do anything about a situation. But all of it needs a line drawing underneath it so that we can bring our energies back to what is important in our life. And the thing is, and I want to make this absolutely clear, whatever it is that you're looking for out in your life from all of your interactions, it basically all comes back down to the same thing. We're looking for better feelings. We're looking to be happy. You know, everything that we do is designed to bring itself back to a better feeling. So about raising the vibration, you need one of my ethic buckets in the corner, because if you can't do anything about it, right, then you're wasting your energy on it. So that goes in the bin. If you can do something about it, strategize and structure a pathway for you to walk down. If there's a nicer feeling out of that, remember all of that, because the subconscious mind remembers everything as fact without reference. So it's just like pressing play on old videos. You just press play and it plays the same old programming. So raising the vibrations in someone's house, right? Simple things for me, right? Singing loudly at the top of my voice. I'm an 80s guy, so I love 80s music. So working with and singing and things like that. I haven't got a great voice, but I haven't got a bad voice either. So wherever I am, you hear me. But if you think about that, humming and feel the vibration around you, it's raising the vibration. If so, by listening to upbeat songs, upbeat music, laughter is a great thing about raising the vibration out there. Just sitting there and giggling. We've had a couple of moments in this house over the last week where we've just, you know, we've had snot bubbles. We've just been giggling about some really daft things. So laughter, you know, they always say about laughter is the greatest medicine. I agree with that, but not dwelling on things either. I think that's a key thing as well. So problem solving or not being able to solve the problem, which route do you want to go down? Because what we're looking at with that is life hours. So when we're feeling negative and we can't find any good feeling from it, we're still using our life hours up. And my question always is to people with that is, what are you looking to gain from using your life hours on that particular thought? Because if you pull it back from out of worries or a place where you've gone to in what I call what if land, you can't do anything about it till you get there anyway. So being present in the moment. Meditation is all good for the people that can manage it. But as I was diagnosed with PTSD, I do struggle with meditation, but I can manage about 15-20 minutes where I can sit there and just allow the thoughts to drift past. I've never yet quite figured out how you stop them and be into that sort of altered state. but it's just, for me, it's about slowing the breathing down, you know, realizing that there is nothing around me that needs taking care of in that 15-20 minutes. It's just being present. So I love singing, I love jumping about, and I like having my dog's company. So dogs and cats as well. Having dogs and cats in your house, if you possibly can as well, they change the energies. They're very sensitive to energies, and they'll pick up when you're feeling a bit flat and things like that. So fresh air as well, letting, you know, fresh air come through. I mean, okay, if it's anything as cold around you guys as it is in Lincoln at the moment, then you don't want your windows open for too long. But the theory behind it for me is that if you've got stale energy in your house, you let all of that stale energy go out the window and replace it. You burn the candle. You can burn various different, I'm trying to think of the name of them, joss sticks, for want of a better word. The word's just gone straight out of my head, but burning the scented sticks and taking them around, they've all got properties. Putting certain crystals. Now, you'd have to speak to other people about that, because I'm not that knowledgeable. I've got a tray full of crystals, and I collect crystal skulls. So if somebody says that that's good for this, that, and the other, I'll probably end up buying one. I'm a crystal seller's dream, because I buy all sorts of them if I feel that that's going to help me sleep. So resting, being in that mindfulness state. So quite a few things there, I think, that will help you with that. Evening all, Catscan, I hope you're well. Yes, do what you're passionate about, absolutely. And anybody watching you, Gemma, can't fail to be inspired by the work that you do. So I think it's absolutely amazing. Where am I going there? I'm pressing buttons here and it's not working. Been led into a white room with these elders. I laid down on a white table. There was stunning stuff. Oh, now you're talking. Right. I absolutely love stained glass windows. Just the craftsmanship, the colours. I could sit in front of it. I mean, I'm fortunate enough in Lincoln that we've got the fabulous Lincoln Cathedral, and the Dean's Eye in particular, which is a big stained glass window that is round and it is huge. You sit in there, and when the light comes through on those days and all of the chakra colours actually shine around you, I love it. I just love being bathed in those colours. I love rainbows and all of that sort of thing as well. So I think guys gives an endless. Do you know, if I could ask Spirit one question, if there was a hierarchy structure where I could go and sit with them, I think I'd put a case forward for saying, right, I'm a simple guy. I respond to simple instructions. I'm not very good at Egyptian hieroglyphics. And I'm not saying it's a criticism, but the one thing that I've found that has been a hindrance to progress with having an abstract mind like mine is I don't always pick up on the nuances that Spirit are trying to show me. So it's never clear enough for me. So I tend to go around in circles 2 or 3 times before the light bulb switches on and you go, right, I get it now. So I think I agree that it's an endless ladder, but I think also we're co-creators of that by writing a blueprint that is our path to study. That is what we've agreed to learn while we're on this planet. So yes, it is difficult, but yes, I find it, say, a bit draining at times. I tell you what, if yours are shaking their heads, mine are like lining up something to take me hostage from something and go, get him out of here. Or what is he doing? You know, it's like that. You know, people will follow me to the ends of the earth just to see what the bloody hell I'm going to do next. So I probably, you know, my guy probably started out as a real youngster, sat there in the corner like this with a bag on and a load of drugs just to calm the nerves a little bit. You know, the anxiety's going on there. Go, right, quick, get to him before he opens his mouth and says something a bit quirky again. Oh, dear. We want to be here. Thanks very much. I appreciate that. That's lovely of you. My grandmother was known as the tooth fairy. Where did she have some stories? Honestly, I can fill up this channel with stories from the prison service. What I've been very careful of not doing is that there's this very serious side to that job, as you can well imagine. I don't want to ever get into this sort of cons versus screws mentality. I've watched different sides of the fence, right? What I want to remember so that I can process the difficulties that I've been through, is the humour and some of the daft stuff that's been done. I could sit here and I could probably write a book on the incidents that I've been involved in and some of the horrific stories, but I don't want that space in my mind. So I remember, and this is the bit that I keep locked away, because like I said to you, the bad memories won't serve me any good, so they go in the effort bucket. The good, well, I don't know as it's good stuff, but it was humour. It was people banding together in difficult times, the camaraderie, if you like, that got me through. And they're the stories that I want to tell, because there's so many stories that I can tell about people, you know, that but I also don't want to get into that space where people are thinking, oh, it's stretching the truth a bit. It isn't. What it's about for me is just telling stories. I love telling stories. I've done it all of my life. I've been a fairly singular guy when it comes to sort of friendship circles and things like that, but I've always had the ability to hold an audience and be a presence. I've just not realized it. You know, it's only when you start hearing repeat things over and over again from people where they're going, do you realize who you are? Do you realize what you've just done? No, not at the time. It's like pressing that program in to go again and just keep going through all of these stories. And I've got hundreds of them. You know, I'd never get tired of telling them, but people will probably get tired of listening. So, oh dear. 206, yeah, absolutely blown away. You know, to go from that 156, it just went dead. There was nothing, and it didn't seem to matter how much I shared and how much I did. It just went dead. And then it's just that series of events where I've truthfully put my hands up and just gone, help. Right, you know, I didn't know what to do. I am not a tech guru. Everything that I do tech-wise is a battle, so it takes me that little bit longer to learn. But I'm determined. That's the thing. That's my energy block. That's my barrier. But I'm gonna knock it out of the way. But I needed to speak to people, or I need to be around people who lead by example. I don't want to listen to these false gurus and people there that are telling you just to do it just so that you can raise their subscribers. I want action from it. I want something that I can get my teeth into. Because at the end of the day, then I might be able to pass that on to somebody and just go, right, I've been through that struggle. And this is why I've done this video tonight, because it's not edited or anything like that. I've got my background in here because that's how I set up my readings for people. I've got my background set up, and then you just go on, you go raw. I'm not scripted. I've got 2 packs of cards in front of me, and I sit and I just go with that flow of it. But I hope that if I do get to where I want to go with this, that I will look back on these and I won't edit them. I won't ever turn around and say, oh, right, that was crap, or I got that wrong. I'll look at it and go, what can I learn from that? What can I take? So in regards to editing and that, how you actually do your lighting and things like that, all of that has got to be learned. But at the minute, I just need to process content and connect in with you guys and see what everybody wants. So, right, let me have a look. Let's keep looking at these comments. No, just keep going through, guys. Wow, what a statement that is, Gemma. I'm not autistic because I'm female. I don't know if you saw my my latest chapter that I gave out from my book there about opinions are like bumholes. Everybody's got one, because that to me is just a ridiculous statement. This is what I was saying earlier on about when people look at you and it's the perception from their own mind that they made something up in their mind, and even when they're challenged, they then look for evidence to back up that statement, even though it's horrendously wrong. Me, I'd rather just turn around and say, right, I don't understand. You know, a lot of this modern world that we're facing with at the moment in my generation, where you're being told that you must understand this and you must go along with this, I'm just going, right, I haven't got an ist or an ism or anything against anybody, but if I genuinely don't understand or I don't resonate in that frequency, you can train me and bully me and push me all you like. I'm still not going to understand. I'm never going to be set out to upset anybody because I'm different. I'm absolutely convinced that there's part of me that's on the spectrum, Gemma, but I would never presume to understand anybody that's gone through the journey that you've gone through, because that's not true. I've got a tiny understanding, and that is because my brother-in-law, when I first met my wife, was about 4 or 5 when I first met him, and he's got Asperger's, he's got ADHD, he'd got some defiance disorder and things like that. So you meet a lot of people that sort of draw into that spectrum, if you like, and it's just little bits. But this is where some people think that knowledge is too much power, and they forget about the human that they're actually dealing with. One of the things that I particularly hate myself is people that give labels to people, right? You know, at the end of the day, who we are, this is just a meat suit, right? What is actually underneath is what actually matters. You know, the energy, the vibration, the soul, that's what actually matters. What we're doing down here is just part of the journey, because when we pass to the next life, assuming that we move on to that next one, we'll be playing a different role anyway. So there's a lot of stuff that we get bogged down in that's just pointless. But you know, it's a strange old world that we're living in. Right, guys, I'm just scrolling through these comments. Just letting the medication. Yeah. Do you know what? When I ended up in hospital with the kidney stone, it took me weeks to get past they give you medication to help you go to the toilet and all of this sort of stuff. Oh, God. Painkillers and that. I've never been one for painkillers at the best of times. Thank you so much. I'll keep going through here. Yes, mate. Thank you. You're an inspiration, mate. You really are. Thank you very much for your help and support. 206. So I've just been informed, you know, to go from 146, and like I said earlier on, that 1% increase, and that's what I'm looking at. Am I being realistic that I'll get to 1,000 by the end of next year? I don't know, but it's going to be fun trying. You know, that I'm not going to go away. This is what I keep reading consistently. You've got to be in it to win it. So it's no good me sort of backing down. Yeah, I'm aware I want to be, absolutely not, but I'm grateful that I've actually entered the race. So thank you. Thank you very much, Serendipity. I appreciate that. As you can see, I was trying to get a background sorted in time that was going to be fireworks in the background and just showing like going off, because I'm absolutely chuffed to bits. You see, this waistcoat that I've gone on tonight, I didn't get it because it was snowflakes. I got it because I saw stars, you know, and darling, as I step out onto my stage, I'm going to be a star. And that was what it was all about. You know, it was just that comfort blanket that when you go onto stage or onto a platform and your knees are knocking together, that you can step out there and you can step into this new role. So when I'm feeling like I'm celebrating or I want to be a star, darling, and find my motivation, this is what I tend to wear. I love this. I normally wear it with a darker shirt, but this was the first one that I came to. And maybe I'm telling you too much there. Like dowsing rods. Right, do you know what? Dowsing rods, I bought some, but I couldn't get on with them. I couldn't work them out. But latest in a long line of kit that I can't work. And they're not hard, are they? But according to me, no, I was waiting for him to do something, and then I got convinced in my mind that I was actually influencing him, so they went in the drawer and never to be seen again. Our ass is like the Bermuda Triangle at times. It really is. Oh dear. And keep up with these comments, because I was going to look at them, and this is the good thing when you're not like massively busy and you haven't got massive audiences on, you should be able to keep up without waffling. Oh dear. Great, got to shoot. Right, thanks a lot, mate. Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Bye fitness, right? Bye Hutch, mate. No, these aren't stars, right? Those aren't stars. They look like stars to me. Do you know what they actually are? They are actually snowflakes. So the company that I buy the waistcoats from is a company called, he says just off the top of his head, is Tom Sawyer's. And you go on there and you pick your waistcoat, and obviously you pick your size and things like that. And they have what's called a hot offers page. And they have a Christmas section. So I went onto the Christmas section, went into the hot offers, and lo and behold, there was one of these at a reduced price. So normally they cost me about £85–90, including postage each. And I went on there and there was a lot less. I thought, I've got to have that. And apparently it's snowflakes. So this is like ice formations and snowflakes, but I just see it as stars. And if you catch it in the right light as well when you're working, with the background that I've got against the green screen, these actually glitter as well. So it suits my purposes anyway. Right, let me just... Do you have a personal ghost story you wouldn't mind sharing? Right, yeah. So I'm not... I'm a little bit on the ghost story. So I'll give you my most recent one. And I didn't actually see the ghost, but I sensed it. And my stupid sense of humour, and if you was here on my last one, I might have mentioned this before. I had the opportunity to go down to Glastonbury, which in this country is a lot of people's favourite places for the energies and things like that. So you go up on the Tor, you will go in the wells and stuff like that and experience energy at quite a strong level. Fantastic experience, all but one place. Went into the Abbey at Glastonbury and went into the room. And I just thought, I'm just going in there to enjoy a day out. I wasn't particularly thinking about anything spiritual. I wasn't really connecting with anything. I'd had a strange sense of energy around me during the day out on the streets, but not in this Abbey. Anyway, I walked into this, what was the old kitchen, and heard this voice go off like a gunshot in my head. Get out. I'm like that, looking round. What on earth is going on there? No, I couldn't see anything. So I laughed. And get out. Well, I'm looking around again. Still can't see anything. So I laugh. Well, the next 5 minutes, I'm outside trying not to throw up because this energy had got into my system and it basically thrown me out. It was really strange. I've only ever seen spirit 2 or 3 times. So I've told this story many, many times. So I'll skip over it. I saw my granddad in full spirit form, which led me onto this path in the first place. During my few weeks at the in the army barracks in the late 80s, when I was there, somebody had been messing about with a Ouija board and doing spell casting and things like that, but not giving it its due respect. And I actually saw an energy above somebody as well and in full form. That did freak me out because it then went into the next room and I was in charge as people were leaving of stacking all of the beds out and clearing all of the rooms. And we heard all of these beds being thrown about. So we went and fetched our corporals, which were the previous year's draft that had got promoted. And they went, we're not stopping in here. So we then went and fetched the adults, who then they also refused to go in that room because that somebody had been messing about with the energies. Anyway, in the end, long story short, what happened was they actually got a vicar in and did a ceremony and got rid of all of the energies and things like that. So I've learned that I don't always see, I sense more. I was doing some plastering for a friend of mine because another one of my wonderful ideas when I left the prison service was to go plastering. And I went to do some plastering for a friend of mine and was unloading my car outside the house. And across the road was like a stoop with 3 steps going up and a little narrow into the doorway. But the house was set up quite high, which is unusual around us. Anyway, I went down to pick my bucket up, and there was a guy stood in the doorway with a smoke on. And I looked at his clothes and I thought, they're a bit odd. Anyway, as I picked my bucket up, it'd gone, just vanished. Well, so it depends on what your mindset is, because if you think you've not seen something and you're looking for an analytical explanation, then you'll always find the analytical explanation. Me, I choose to go with the idealistic sort of romantic notion that there are energies out there that are putting themselves out there for us to see them. If it's anything that I feel is negative or anything like that, I just don't go anywhere near it. Let's see. Don't like Ouija boards. No, I'll be truthful on that one. I'm not very keen on the dream boards or anything like that. It's just not my personal taste. I'm assuming that if they're handled in the correct manner, then they'll yield good results. I suppose it's just the intent that you put out there, but it is not my barra. So let me just have a look there. Right, guys, I'm coming up to an hour 10. Is there anybody on there that wants me to do any cards? Because I say I wasn't expecting to be on this long, and when I first started speaking, I didn't think that there'd be anybody there. I've never used one. Yeah, I agree. It's not my barra at all. So let's take that off there. Right. Does anybody want any cards before I go? So there's 7 of you on, guys, that have stuck with me all the way through, and I really, really appreciate that. I've got me deck of tarot cards here, and if anybody would like one before I go off, I'll draw you some cards. Because I can almost sense the kettle boiling. Right. Oh, that one's getting it. That one's jumping out. I'll flatten that one. I don't know what. So that was really, really excited to. Let me just go. Right. Because there's only a few of you, I'm just going to just do a quick 3-card reading for you. Right. Oh, finances. I love it when it comes up with money, because I'm thinking, right, what's coming in for me? Because the thing is about my work is I never work with any darkness or negativity, and I certainly don't work with problems or anything like that. I'll always tell you the truth, but I always want people to have that upliftment. That is my sole aim in life when you're working with people, is to drag them out of any particular rut that they might be in, and then give them something to look forward to, and anything else we can sort of solve. So Page of Swords for you. Right, so the Page of Swords in this deck there, anything to do with swords is about your mind, how you process your thoughts and your intellect. Blue is all about communication. So this is dealing with a situation around you that is somebody younger than you or less mature than what you are, that has brought in elements of disappointment to you. If you can't understand that as a literal event or an occurrence, what this also talks about is disappointment in people in general that are around you that possibly should have known better. All of the time that I've been actually talking to you and replying to your comments, I feel like I've got a gentleman around me that passed with the heart condition or something there, because he's bringing quite an intense pain around this area here. He's just coming through, and the message that I want to give to you is to say, to help you get yourself organized and steady your nerves a little bit. And I don't feel that that's an anxiety. I just feel that that's an overwhelming with a lot of stuff that you've got to get organized over these next few weeks before the Christmas and the holiday thing. So he's just bringing his energy in to help guide you through something. Just, I'd say random, but that's what's being brought through for you. I feel like a fatherly, grandfatherly energy with that gentleman. But I know you put on there, wife of a grumpy old Marine. I sense that this gentleman, as he comes in, wouldn't be too far away from discipline, and he's talking about his backbone at the moment. So maybe that's about courage rather than talking about the literal backbone. But he's coming through to help you through these next few weeks and get organized. So the Page of Swords is also, pages traditionally bring news or awareness to something. Beware of petty gossips, and sorry to be so blunt about this, but shit stirrers around you. So be on your guard, right? So just put people in the place as and when it needs to happen. Just remember that you've got to your stage in life by learning a few things. You're not naive. You're not wet behind the ears. Maybe just somebody needs to see that little bit of bite from you. You know, if for nothing else but for shock value, to put somebody in the place. So we get that out of the way. We deal with the fly in the ointment, and then we bring in the new ways of bringing in money and finances. So we've got the Three of Pentacles. So the Three of Pentacles is about having a pride in the way that you work. Pentacles, money, finances, wealth, and non-material wealth. Wealth is obvious as to what it is, because it brings you in more of something. Non-material wealth is opportunities for learning and making changes to the way that you bring money in. So it's kind of like lessons. It's also about personal pride as well, because when this person is putting their energy into that, there's a personal pride there with what they're trying to achieve. I like the fire in the background with this, because what this is also saying to me is telling you to have more pride in your skills and everything that you manage to accomplish in the day. You might not feel like you're making progress at the moment, but this card is saying to me to build on to things that you've started. So it might even be a case of going into the cupboard and pulling out things that you've left by the wayside because you've needed to. Now I feel is the time to reignite something, you know, spark, passion. There's a real sense of you needing to communicate your needs and wishes to people as well. Now, I'm talking about like driving there. So if we take that on a few months, we've got the Knight of Pentacles, and you can't quite see all of that because the background is all green and it gets lost in the green screen. But the Knight of Pentacles is the only exception in the Knight's suit that it is not about action. So once you've put something into place, you've decided to invest in whatever it is, whether it's your finances, your lifestyles, or whatever, then you are going to yield dividends. So this is about organization over these next few months, because that horse is sat quite contentedly in the field and is feeding on the grass that's around him. So this is getting your finances in balance. This is finding that financial contentment. But what I'm being told to tell you by my guides is that there's still work to do. So if you allow these going into the new year, don't get too tied down or bogged down if things aren't quite where you want to be. There's still a couple of little battles or a little niggles there, loose ends to tie up. I think by middle of January, I sense that things will be a lot clearer than what they are now. But as I say there, don't get bogged down by the little turds in the punch bowl of life. I don't know whether that made any sense, but oh dear. Sometimes I look at myself. Oh dear. I open my mouth and I just wonder what's going to come out. Oh dear. Right, where am I going? Just something else. Yes, there we go. Cat scan. Thank you. It'd be an absolute pleasure. Right, so put these cards back into the deck. Just have a quick shuffle. Turds in a punch bowl alive. Oh dear. I come on here with such good intent about not upsetting people or saying any rude words and things like that. And it's just like I've got spiritual Tourette's. Stuff comes out of my mouth. And I should realise by now, at 51 years of age, that handbrake's bust. Never to be repaired again. Right. 3 cards for you, Cat Scan. Right. So, now, interesting. An interesting spread. So, I'll tell you, my style of working is with these cards is all about storytelling. So we've got work to do and some actions to take before we get the rewards. So I'm going to order them in a certain way. And I'll tell you, you have got the 6 of Swords. You have got the Wheel of Fortune, and you have got the Hermit. So you've got 2 cards from the Major Arcana and 1 from the minor. So Swords is all about communication and the way that you process, the way that you think, the way that your mind works. Anything that is occupying your thoughts, as I said earlier on, needs to be positive and uplifting, I'll get the words right at this moment in time. And if they're not, then we need to look at changing our thought process. So the 6 of Swords is all about moving on through stormy waters and past and beyond, taking time out to recover from things that have been said over the last couple of years in particular that's left. Because I think about swords, they're a weapon at the end of the day, and they can cut, they can wound. So it's dealing with things now in the aftermath of something. But to say to you as well, the worst is now over. I was hearing around you when I was talking now that there was a lady's energy that was coming in and around you. And what I sense about her as she's giving me her energy is, I don't know whether she had a stroke or whether there was something that happened in her mind. So I get this symbol on my head, as I've explained to people before, that when I'm getting tapped on the back of the head, that is all about dementia, Alzheimer's, the stroke condition, or anything where somebody's lost their power of speech or their memory. So bringing this lady's energy in, and I felt as she came in that I wanted to and I almost drew to a stop then. So there was something going on. There was an obstruction or something in her ability to speak. She's just coming in, and she's just, forgive me for saying this, but she's just like blasted the doors open, and she's coming through. And you know, if you get in the way, you might as well just grab onto her handbag and just run with her, because she's just going to go through any obstacles around you. If you think about somebody who, I do it the best to give it justice, a bit of a battle axe that, you know, has got that sort of strong bloody mindedness about them, that, you know, they can sometimes be seen as unfeeling, but they're not. They're just clumsy in their energies. But there's a sense with her is that now she's found a voice, she's going to just help you progress through these next few months and help you get organized as well. So the Six of Swords is all about moving on emotionally, but also dealing with the aftermath of things, of knowing that some things leave scars, and we may well need a bit of time to get over things. But as I say, come to a conclusion quickly on them. You know, put those thoughts to bed, send them off into Mother Earth, get them reprocessed and re-cleansed. Don't hang on to any negative thoughts. The Hermit. All right, so the Hermit is all about introspection, going within. So if you look at this card there, the guy has got the light. The light there lights up the pathway. The staff there is for support. The beard there denotes wisdom and is showing you that he's on the pathway. So now, as I said when I give this one out last time, there's two choices when you take the Hermit. Either you focus on the fact that I'll light my pathway up and I'll walk it, even though I know it's narrow, or I can get bogged down again in worrying about how narrow the pathway is. Just remember that forward is forward, no matter how small the steps, whether it's stumbling or striding. So we've got to, in some way or another, stop you treading in treacle, because I just feel that that's slowing your momentum down. Trust that you've got all of the knowledge and the wisdom that you need around you to get you through this current set of circumstances. All you've got to do now is walk the pathway. Okay? And the Wheel of Fortune is, I love this card because everything about it's positive. And I just see the wheel actually spinning round. Every stop on that wheel is positive. It's productive. But you have to ask yourself at times, right, am I on that? Am I procrastinating? Am I like holding back on something? Why am I holding back? Because the thing about this card, it's about taking direct action. Because if you don't, it may well have disappeared by the time that you get yourself round to it. So this card, clear out any like loose energy, any dark energy, any negative energy, anything that's keeping you stuck. Clear it all out, chuck it in the effort bucket, move forward and take these wonderful chances as they come along, because this is a card of good luck. But like with anything, it's on a cycle. So we make the most of the good cycles where they're coming, because we don't know when the times are going to change and where things are going to go in a different direction. So an interesting few months for you, I feel. Right, and keep going. That's probably why I'm bringing it in then. Right, guys, if there's nobody else there that wants a message, I'll wrap it up there and say the bigger the audience that I get, the more I'll do card readings and things like that. But say, just want to end on just saying thank you. 206 from 154 with all you guys' support. It's just, I'm thrilled. So I was just explaining to somebody the other day that I don't know how to, don't really know how to finish all of these. So what I will say is I will send out my love, the light, the gratitude to everybody that's watched on here, whether they've popped in tonight or whether they've encouraged me with a message that's helped me get my subscribers up. I just want you guys to go out there, shine, and live the life that you actually want to live. You know, go out there and shine your unique, weird, wonderful beings of yourself that you want to be. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And from my spirit to your spirit, thank you very, very much. And good night. Thank you.